Hello everybody, it's Glitter Informer and welcome to the bag episode of Meitantei, Pretty Cure. The entire episode is about the Kyoto Detective Agency's first official customer, a guy who's had a mishap with his bag. All the stuff in said bag has been replaced with random produce items and also an apron. He needs to get his stuff back. Whatever shall he do? It's really cute how even though this guy is panicking over his stuff being lost, the girls are super excited and over the moon about finally getting a real customer at long last. But hey, it's not like their emotional insensitivity matters much because they do help the guy out. They find out that the guy's bag has a stain at the bottom that it didn't even have before, and that its strap is too short for him to comfortably wear, even though he doesn't recall shortening it or dropping it anywhere dirty. He also recalls bumping into somebody earlier and dropping his bag, which is probably when he first lost his stuff. The girls hypothesize that the bag this man has isn't actually his. It actually probably belongs to the person he bumped into. They probably both dropped their bags and accidentally picked up each other's because they looked so similar. So, remember how back in the episode 1 review I said I hoped the Phantom Thieves weren't behind every single missing item because that would get boring? Well, I'm happy to say that I got my wish. This is the first time an item isn't stolen at all. It's just an innocent mistake. The person they're trying to identify is not a culprit exactly. So now it's up to Anna and Mikuru to figure out who accidentally took their customer's bag. They head to the place where the guy got bumped into. Fortunately, there turns out to be a worker there who is painting the benches. He happens to remember the person whom he bumped into. Mikuru passionately sketches out the description this worker gives, which results in a very interesting drawing. Mikuru's smug smile, combined with everyone else's bemused reactions, made me actually laugh out loud. Usually anime doesn't do that for me. I guess it's not generally my sense of humor, but this one did. Good job. Speaking of good jobs, even though Anna and the customer are unimpressed, the worker recognizes Mikuru's sketch instantly and is like, that's exactly what she looked like. And so the girls head off to search for the mysterious woman. But alas, search as they might, they find no leads. All they find of note is an art store that's selling portrait courses, and nobody there knows a thing. Not a single soul, other than that one bench painting guy, recognizes the woman in Mikuru's drawing. And what's more, Anna and Mikuru aren't the only ones on the hunt for the customer's missing bag. You see, here's where Anna and Mikuru are introduced to the third Phantom Thief to attack them thus far. Introducing Goemon, a burly, hunky pompadour guy who talks in an old-fashioned, flowery way and generally acts like a traditional Japanese theatrical performer. So kinda like Niji, except buff, not flirty at all, and from several centuries ago. Interestingly, Goemon doesn't even bother with disguising himself. He just outright barges in and takes the bag out of the dude's arms. This so-called Phantom Thief is all thief and no phantom. Goemon makes a run for it. But fortunately, Anna and Mikuru introduce us to a new invention of Jet Senpai's, the Pre-Kit Light. This device allows you to draw anything you can imagine and make it into reality. That sounds really overpowered to me. Why don't they just draw a magic mirror that instantly reveals the location of the guy's actual bag? Or an airborne pathogen that will only affect the Phantom Thieves and whose only symptom is rendering people unable to steal. Or a portal back to the year 2027. Or a cure for cancer. All they use it for is to summon a trampoline so they can jump really high and catch Goemon, and then summon another trampoline when they land to cushion their fall. I have no idea why they couldn't have just written the Pre-Kit Light as a simple trampoline summoning device if that's all they're gonna use it for. Anyways, the girls catch up to Goemon, who has since realized that this bag doesn't contain any prized possessions and thus has no Makoto jewel for him. So he tosses the bag back to them. However, he overheard the girls talking with their customer earlier. I forgot to mention this, but the guy's actual bag has a manga manuscript he's been working on. Let me tell you, drawing is hard. I drew this avatar here, and it doesn't even look very good, but I worked really hard on it, so it's hard, okay? And making an entire manga? That sounds like extremely extremely difficult work, harder than making a garbage Live 2D model like this one. Probably put about a month of work into that thing at least. If I were in his position, I'd be hopping mad. So now, Goemon knows that he's looking for a manga manuscript. The fate of the Makoto Jewel will come down to who finds it first, Goemon or the cures. And off he goes! This guy, having a traditional Japanese aesthetic and all, flees the scene by using a paper fan to summon a flurry of sakura petals, so his flower is sakura. Good to know. Once the petals clear away, he's gone. That's honestly on the same level of coolness as Miju's smoke bomb technique. Now, you might be wondering, why did Goemon even steal the bag of produce in the first place if it didn't have a Makoto Jewel inside? Well, it turns out that despite being the detective's enemies, the Phantom Thieves have to do some sleuthing of their own as well. So Noir's Tome of Mirages only reveals certain details about the location of the next Makoto Jewel, and his underlings have to figure out the rest. This time, all Goemon knows is that the item he's looking for is a rectangular object clad in violet. So, both the heroes and the villains have a gargantuan task ahead of them. They've got an entire city at least to search, and the person with the manuscript could be anywhere. You'd think the good guys would have a leg up since they at least know what the person looks like. But there's another thing I forgot to mention. Goemon isn't alone. This whole time, he's been accompanying Luluka and Mashutan. You see, Luluka is a new recruit to the Thieves Guild, and Goemon's such a nice guy that he wants to show her the ropes. Problem is, she's the one showing him up. She's the one who spied the look-alike bag in the first place, and once it turns out the bag doesn't actually contain anything valuable, she and Mashutan walk off silently because they know exactly where to go next, and Goemon's all like, rookies these days. We'll find out later exactly how Luluka knows where to go. For now, let's talk about Anna and Mikuru. They decide that since the bag is filled with food, it might belong to somebody who works at a restaurant. This hypothesis doesn't make much sense to me because this looks like an individual or family-sized purchase. Usually a restaurant would order food by the truckful rather than just sending somebody out to get a single bag of groceries, right? But this faulty line of reasoning isn't a flaw with the show itself because it turns out to be a dead end. One of the restaurant workers they asked tells them that the food they're carrying is starting to go bad and no restaurant worth its salt would use it anyways. I really like that as smart as these two girls are, they still struggle a lot with detective work and have to try a bunch of different approaches to get the truth. It's really engaging watching the characters encounter setbacks and change their strategies accordingly. In this case, Mikuru says that when you get stuck on a case, you should go back to the beginning again. So they head over to the place where the customer first bumped into Mystery Lady. Pochitan touches one of the benches, but remember, the worker from earlier was just painting them. So Pochitan's paw gets covered in paint and they freak out. When Anna reaches into her pocket to get a handkerchief to clean Pochitan up, a flyer for that art store's portrait class falls out. These two paint-related things cause Anna and Mikuru to have a Jimmy Neutron brain blast, and they both realize not who done it this time. Who took it? Whatever. From the emphasis on the paint and the flyer right before the aha moment, it's pretty clear the show is indicating that the mystery woman with the guy's manuscript is at that art store from earlier. But one, they visited so many different places that I wouldn't have guessed that that's where the culprit was before the aha scene, especially since when they were there, they didn't see the mystery woman. And two, I wasn't able to use my Ultra Giga Chad Megamind brain to figure out how Anna and Mikuru knew the mystery woman was at the art store. This was something the show had to explain to me itself. I would never cut it as a star detective, let me tell you what. So they arrive at the art store and what do you know? It's Mystery Woman in the flesh teaching that portrait course. For her part, Mystery Woman is more than happy to have her bag back, and she's cooperative and willing to give the customer his bag back. But just like us, the audience, Mystery Woman is curious as to just how the detective girls were able to track her down. And so the girls explain. See, that stain at the bottom of Mystery Woman's bag wasn't mud or ketchup or anything like that. It was paint the whole time. So was a very similar looking stain on the apron inside of the bag. As for the food, it wasn't suitable for eating, but it would still do perfectly well for still life painting practice. That would explain why there was only enough there to fill a single bag. A whole group of people can paint the same few objects. So they went to the nearest art store to where the bumping into first happened, and lo and behold. But oh no! Goemon has shown up again, and this time he steals the manuscript instead of a useless bag of spoiled food. It turns out he has the ability to scale an entire building in a single bound for some reason. I think the Phantom Thieves all have superhuman athletic abilities, which makes sense since they're not humans. Anyways, Anna and Mikuru still manage to catch up to him and trap him in a pincer maneuver. These kids are really good at working together. How, you may ask, did Goemon find out where the manuscript was? As it turns out, Luluka is wickedly smart to the point of straining suspension of disbelief. The moment she saw that one of the foodstuffs in the bag was bread, she instantly knew it came from somebody who worked at an art store because bread can be used as an eraser. This is literally the only reason she deduces the location. Never mind that bread can also be used as stuff other than an eraser, like maybe for feeding wild animals or something. Never mind that the bag's owner could have been at any number of art stores in the area. We never find out that there's only one in the whole town. Only Anna and Mikuru knew about their client bumping into somebody, and so only they would know which art store was closest to where that happened, but never mind that. Never mind that using an eraser makes no sense, since they're painting, not sketching with a pencil or anything. Never mind that even if they were to use an eraser, why would they use bread as an eraser when using an actual eraser as an eraser makes more sense? We're clearly supposed to see Luluka as a 400 IQ genius for being able to instantly solve the mystery that Anna and Mikuru puzzled over for most of the episode, but this strikes me less as genius and more as magic. This is the sort of thing TV tropes calls a bat deduction. When a character deduces something that turns out to be correct, even though their reasoning for it makes no sense. Anyways, Goemon turns the manga manuscript into a haninda. This is probably the coolest one we've seen yet. It has comic book style visual effects whenever it makes contact with the cures. Also, I should mention that Goemon's first reaction to seeing the haninda is an amaze. So this is a haninda! It seems like hanindas are only a recent invention of the Phantom Thieves, which again begs a question I had when reviewing episode 2. What was the previous cure fighting? Also, Goemon mentions his boss, Usonoir, which leads to the cure's finding out about Usonoir's existence for the first time. This fight is flashy and stylish and cool and stuff, but it's also over and done with without much struggle on the girls' end. They do, however, pull out some interesting sub-attacks. Each of them has a solo attack that packs quite a wallop, but isn't powerful enough in and of itself to finish off the monster. Pure Mystiques are called Mystique Reflection, and it summons a pink translucent rectangular jewel that shields against the giant monster's projectiles. It's a pretty standard shield attack, and it's far from the first shield attack in the franchise to end with the word Reflection. Pure Answer solo attack is called Answer Attack. This is the first time a Pretty Cure attack has ended simply with the word attack, and each time it happens, I can never get over just how basic of a name attack is for an attack. The attack is basically just a superpowered punch. A punch attack is very fitting for a franchise as focused as Pretty Cure on physical combat. However, as Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky from the Pretty Cure wiki pointed out, this is the 4th time in the past 5 seasons that the lead cure has had a punch attack. It gets old after a while. So they do the "this is our answer" finishing attack, finish off the monsters, send the villains packing, and return to the detective agency where they return the manuscript to their customer. There, they finally actually see the manuscript's text for the first time, and Anna recognizes the customer's pen name. It turns out this guy is actually a well-known, successful mangaka in the year 2027, and Anna is a huge fan of his work. I thought this was a really clever twist and handled well. It's really heartwarming to know that all of this guy's hard work pays off in the end, eventually. For whatever reason, Anna wants to keep it a secret that she traveled back in time, probably because it would be confusing and overwhelming for the customer to find out she's from the future. Normally, one of my pet peeves about the Pretty Cure franchise is that its characters are absolutely terrible at keeping secrets, but the narrative acts like they're not. But here, the most suspicious thing that happens is Anna saying that the customer guy will become an amazing mangaka one day. The customer immediately assumes that, being a skilled detective and all, Anna just deduced that using her expert reasoning. And Anna, instead of freaking out and panicking, is just kind of like, I guess it's more like, how should I explain this? And then Mikuru redirects the subject by asking to see his manga too, and they all just naturally forget about it. It's a refreshingly believable scene. And that's it for this week's episode. I'm gonna be honest, the more I watch this show, the more I really like it. I've mentioned before that I love this show's mystery-centered structure. It makes it distinct from the other seasons of Pretty Cure, and it gives an opportunity to flesh out a bunch of minor characters in this world. I also love the major characters so far. I mean, Anna and Pochitan are kinda basic, but Mikuru is still best girl, and Jet Senpai is still a fun, grumpy dad character. I really like this show's villains in particular. Except for Uso Noir, who's just a generic big bad whom we know little about so far, not a single one of them is a clunker. I was initially skeptical of them doing the Phantom Thief villain idea again so soon after Delicious Party Pretty Cure from just 4 years before, but this season honestly executes it better than that season did, at least from what little I got around to watching of Delicious Party. I love the idea of them all being performers. Niji, Agesen, and Goemon are all very distinct in terms of theme, aesthetic, and personality, but what they all have in common is that they each have extremely strong stage presence, both in-universe and out. In particular, Goemon is a fun, goofy, over-the-top villain who has silly reactions to stuff and also some himbo moments in comparison with Luluka and Mashita. Let's talk about those two, by the way. This episode focused more on them than even last episode did. Luluka still hardly ever speaks, letting Machitan do almost all the talking for her. She's still very mysterious. She's also still constantly eating ice cream. But now, we know a bit more about her. We know that she's new to the team and also that she's very capable. Between this episode and last one, it's clear that Luluka and Machitan are quite distinct from Uso Noir's other subordinates. While Niji, Agesen, and Goemon are showy and over the top, Luluka and Machitan are more subdued. Machitan in particular also looks down quite a bit on the other generals. In contrast, she's absolutely in Luluka's corner, constantly acting as her hype woman and bragging about how cool she is. So far, Luluka and Machitan have not actually come into contact with our main characters. I'm really excited for when that finally does inevitably happen. I think once we finally see her transform into Cure Arcana Shadow, she'll put up way more of a fight than the generals and their Hanin does have so far. Until then, I'm more than looking forward to watching Anna and Mikuru crack more cases, answer more of the lingering questions about their world, and maybe make some more friends along the way. And that's all I have for this week.